Peru and Colombia announced on Tuesday that they will create a joint database on Venezuela migrants. The aim of the database will be to track the arrival of the migrants. It is also aims to ensure fair distribution of the aid. The two countries have asked other nations to join the initiative. There are close to 1 million Venezuelans now living in Colombia and over 400,000 in Peru. Meanwhile, Brazil said that it was sending armed forces to keep order near the Venezuelan border area. This comes after residents rioted and attacked Venezuelan immigrants in a border town earlier this month. There is currently an unofficial curfew in place for Venezuelans in Paracaraima in the North Brazilian state of Roraima. Several countries on Tuesday called for the Myanmar military leaders who are accused of orchestrating the repression of the Rohingya Muslims to be brought to justice. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations said that the facts of the ethnic cleansing must be said and heard. This comes after a UN-backed fact-finding mission said that Myanmar's top military generals, including Commander-in-Chief Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, must be prosecuted for genocide in the country's Rakhine state. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that he is encouraged by the progress made by Canada's NAFTA partners, but he would only sign a new trade pact which is good for his country. His comments came just after Canadian Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland entered negotiations with U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer to try to salvage NAFTA as a three-nation deal. The outlines of the NAFTA 2.0 are now on papers, including new provisions on auto trade with higher percentage of locally produced components. U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis said that the United States had recently discussed the use of chemical weapons in Syria with Russia. This after there were reports of Syria moving chemical weapons into a rebel-held area. Mattis said, and I quote, "You have seen our administration act twice on the use of chemical weapons. I will assure you that the Department of State has been in active communication with Russia to enlist them in preventing this," unquote. British Prime Minister Theresa May attended a business forum in Cape Town on Tuesday where UK and South Africa discussed investment opportunities between the two countries. May was accompanied by South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa and a delegation of British business executives. Britain was South Africa's sixth largest global trading partner last year with a total trade of $5.6 billion. The U.S. will end its suspension of military drills in the Korean Peninsula. U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis said, and I quote, "We took the step to suspend several of the largest military exercises as good faith measure. We have no plans to suspend any more." Mattis, however, gave no indication on whether the exercises with allied forces in the region would resume anytime soon. According to reports, North Korean officials have warned the U.S. that denuclearization talks may fall apart. In a letter delivered directly to the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, officials claim that Kim Jong-un's government felt that the process could not move forward. The American media reported that the letter was sent by former head of North Korea's spy agency, Kim Yong-chol. Meanwhile, Japan has said that North Korea continues to pose a dire threat to its security, despite a hold to the ballistic missile test. An annual white paper published by Japan's Defense Ministry has outlined security concerns about the nuclear-armed North Korea. The document also addressed China's growing military might and its territorial ambition. German Chancellor Angela Merkel's Conservatives and their Social Democrat coalition partners have agreed to reduce paycheck contributions towards the country's unemployment insurance system. Reports said that the ruling parties had agreed to cut the contributions rate by 0.5%, 0.2 to 2.5% starting in 2019. Under current rules, salaried employees contribute 3% of their pre-tax income towards the unemployment insurance system. U.S. President Donald Trump met FIFA and senior U.S. soccer officials in the Oval Office on Tuesday. FIFA President Gianni Infantino presented Trump with a yellow and a red card and jokingly added that he could use the penalty cards during his interaction with the press, following which Trump tossed a red card in the direction of the media. The Puerto Rico governor on Tuesday said that an independent investigation estimates that 2,975 people died within months of a result of Hurricane Maria. The findings issued by the Milken Institute of Public Health sharply contrast the official death toll of 64. The latest estimation is also about double of the government's previous interim estimate of 1,400. In the rarest of rare instances, a Texas jury found a white former policeman guilty of the murder of a black teenager. 38-year-old Roy Oliver was fired by the Balch Spring Police Department for violating the department policy after his fatally shot 15-year-old Jordan Edwards. The teenager was an outstanding student and athlete and was unwarned when he was joined by the police officers in 2017. Oliver faces up to life in prison. The sentence, however, will come in later. Eight people remain missing after a ship capsized on Sunday off the coast of Tangshan in North China. 4 people have been rescued. Helicopter, ships and divers are currently assisting with the search and rescue operation. The Maritime Search and Rescue Center in Hebei received a distress call at 6:47 a.m. local time, claiming that 12 people had fallen overboard when the vessel capsized. .330 kilos of cocaine alcohol was seized after an almost month-long joint anti-narcotics operation between Peru and Bolivia. The authorities have also arrested 26 people. The 25-day-long operation was dubbed Tiahuanaco 2018. It was carried out along the border shared by South American nations from August 1st to August 25th. The suspects taken into custody belong to Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador and Brazil. South Sudan rebel chief Riek Machar has agreed to sign a final peace deal with the government and put an end to the brutal civil war. Machar and President Salva Kiir have held weeks of talks in Khartoum in search of a comprehensive peace. Now, the conflict has killed thousands of people and displaced millions since 2013. Parties of the world's youngest country have already inked several agreements, including a permanent ceasefire and a power-sharing deal that sees Machar returning as the country's vice president. The Mexican army shut down a crystal meth lab that was located just outside the Mexican border town of La Rumoroso. The outdoor lab was producing around 200 kilograms of meth per day. A lab is thought to have been operating for roughly a year. Now, according to reports, the lab was run by 10 people who fled before the police arrived at the spot. Just earlier this month, Mexican Marines discovered an underground drug lab in the mountain outside the capital of Sinaloa state. A painting panda is the latest attraction in the Vienna Zoo. Yang Yang, a mother of 2-year-old twins, has now learned to use a brush. Her creations are mostly abstract and reminiscent of her child's first attempt at painting. Yang Yang's paintings are being sold online for $500, and the money will now be used to fund a picture book on the pandas of the Austrian zoos. Spain is ready of La Tomatina festival. Around 145 tons of tomatoes were loaded into 6 trucks on Tuesday and are now headed to Bunol. The annual tomato fight is due to take place today at 11 a.m. local time. The festival is expected to attract over 20,000 tourists from across the globe. The 43rd Street of Times Square was temporarily cordoned off on Tuesday after bees swarmed a hot dog stand. According to the New York police, there were over 30,000 bees atop the food cart's umbrella. The bees were finally vacuumed into a bucket by the department's beekeeper. What exactly attracted so many bees is yet to be known. Over 300 endangered sea turtles were found dead and floating in the waters of Mexico's southern coast. This comes days after more than 100 of the same species perished due to unknown causes. The dead olive ridley turtles arrived in large numbers on Mexico's Pacific coast every year to spawn between June and September, with some arriving as early as May. Mexico's Office of the Federal Attorney for Environment Protection said it was investigating the case. Viral Yakovich was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yako, which is a star, is the 2,643 on the iconic street. The satirist, whose hits include the spoofs like A Surgeon and Eat It, was honored in the recording category. During a speech, Yakovich poked fun at the recent destruction of President Donald Trump's Walk of Fame star.
You faded out.
Mourners began pouring onto the Detroit's Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History to pay their final respects to late Queen of Soul Aretha Franklin. They approached her gold-plated casket to the sounds of her gospel recordings. She was in repose, dressed in red from head to high-heeled shoes. Legs crossed at the ankles as they approached. People who came from as far away as Las Vegas and Miami cried, crossed themselves, bowed their heads, or blew kisses.